What is up, mi gente? This is Ana Ortiz, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From
with Damien and Ann.
I am Damien.
I'm Ann.
And this is our podcast where we talk about all of the things that we are just thinking about and all of the pop culture current events and not current events. And we always also interview an excellent character actress, performer, or someone we are just big fans of. It's all also on every episode. And we're so glad to have you here with us if you've never been here before. Something that we have been thinking about today, so Ann and I, longtime collaborators, also longtime best friends, we have a very similar Venn diagram of as far as our interest goes. And I think that in the early stages, the throes of our relationships, like it was a thing that was like very attractive to me about this person that I was like, oh, every sitcom that was on between like 1989 and like 2000? Me too. Oh, you also like read like lesbian pop culture like message boards and like know weird stuff about like who dated who in Hollywood that was like closeted, etc. Cool, me too. Oh, like we watched Judging Amy. Oh, we love musical theater. Or, like we had all of these things in common, which just is not, a lot of people, we have a few things, and it's great. I love those people. But, when someone wants to see the Bangles, also talk about the L Word, also wants to talk about Gypsy and Little Shop of Horrors, and then, also wants to talk about, I don't know, something else, weird, this is the person for me. So it's rare that we find things that we don't see eye to eye on. And today I posted something on Instagram and Anne responded like, oh boy. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. It was like real basic of me. It was basic of me. Yeah,
it was shocking. It was that video of Jamie Dornan of 50 Shades of Grey in the Fall fame singing, what was he singing? Everlasting Love at the premiere of some movie where he is also performing that song in the movie. And he sort of has a mock crooner thing happening in a suit. And I saw people talking about it on the internet. And then Damien posted it and it was a sweat emoji, which is Damien's emoji for hot, sexy, I'm feeling it. And I couldn't tell if it was earnest or not. And then I was like, oh, he feels it. And I was shocked because for some reason it embarrassed me so badly that he was singing this song at a movie premiere. But the internet seemed to love it. So I'm sure that I'm probably in the minority. But I do think he's a good actor. I don't know that I care. He is very handsome. But there is a particular brand, I think, of a handsome, like a traditionally basic handsome man that you fall for that is not going to do it for me.
But I'm not one of those people. I don't.
No, I know you're not. That's what I mean. That's why it was shocking. That's not you at all. So when it happens once out of every 500,000 times, it's a shock.
I'm friends with lots of gay men and queer men who were always sweating for Shawn Mendes and Tom Holland, and I'm like, you're 40, you need to calm down. That's weird. Or even I think Chris Evans is very generically and conventionally handsome.
Beautiful,
and I'm very into it, but also not really. You know what I mean? I don't care. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm over him pandering to gay people, and I'm over his Mandy Patinkin wannabe ass. So but I recognize that there is also a part of me that's oh, Michael B. Jordan, I don't care, he's not a good actor. For me, he is. Or Jamie Dornan singing perfectly serviceably fine.
Yes, serviceably, but then it was he would be called pitchy and not good on a reality show.
Sure, but then for a High School Musical, if you were you would be oh my god, he's amazing. They have male talent.
They literally do carousel around him. They'd be we gotta do. He's Billy Bigelow, babe.
So we've been thinking about other things that we disagreed on, and I had said I had just been listening, as one does. I was feeling overwhelmed yesterday, and I was well, I need to watch something that I don't have to pay attention to that'll make me feel better. And I was actually, let me listen to something. So I put on the soundtrack. I was is there any soundtrack for Grease Live? Good news, there is. Yeah. And so I listened to it, and I really wanted to. I started watching Keke Palmer do "Freddie My Love" on YouTube. Then I started listening to the whole album, and I was like, wait, who is Danny Zuko? And I was like, oh, Aaron Tveit. And then I was like, oh, I remember we watched this with a big group of friends, and my friends, led by Anne, were not into Aaron Tveit as Danny Zuko. And I was I remember being into it. He didn't bother me. He was totally fine. Harmless, sure. And I thought that's another thing we didn't have in common. I don't think that's not rooted in my attraction to Aaron Tveit. It was just I thought he was fine.
But here's the thing. First of all, it has nothing to do with him being too old to be Danny Zuko, because for me that is a plus. You know what I'm saying? I said this to like, get Adrian's Med to do the role today. I don't care. He must be like 79. He's done it before. I don't need like somebody who's strawberry blonde to play Danny Zuko. Like, he could be any ethnicity, any race, like any look, just not strawberry blonde. And I feel like Aaron Tveit is very talented, but I actually don't care. So it's just like Danny Zuko had no edge. Suddenly it was like him. I just didn't buy it. However, I did buy that Julianne Hough would go for that Danny Zuko. Do you know what I mean? Like, that pairing made sense to me. Was Derek Hough also in it? Was he Corny Collins? Was he also Vince Fontaine?
No, it was. I think this is excellent casting. It was Mario Lopez.
Oh, that is perfect casting. That's perfect casting.
It's like, it's like our era's Vince Fontaine. It's like, it's like so good.
Were you sexually into Vince Fontaine in the movie?
He's disgusting. He's one of the sickest people I've ever seen in my life.
We agree on that.
Like, he is disgusting. Like, I remember being like, is he supposed to seem like a child molester? And I think that, like, the answer was yes.
As a child, I was like, he's hideous. He's not good enough for Marty.
What do you call this? Do you have like a word that you
a lech? He's a lech.
Yeah. A lech. Thank you.
Damien was like I don't even know how you describe the gesture that you just did. It was like jazz hands, but
it was like put paws up, monsters, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, it was paws. Yeah, that was lech. I got lech from that.
Yeah, we both are actually into and not into Lady Gaga in the exact same way. So
correct. I cannot wait for the House of Gucci or whatever the movie is called. I cannot get over whatever she's doing. I read something and I forgot to tell you this, that she like worked on her accent for like 6 months and then spoke in it for 2 months. In her everyday life, she was using that accent. I cannot wait to see that film. For me, there's nothing I love more than a huge film full of like superstar celebrity levels, like not just like actors and prosthetics. I'm talking to superstars in wigs, fake teeth, and prosthetics playing people that we know what they look and sound like. This is my bread and butter. I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go on a press tour and say that, though, if I thought my accent was like questionable,
She doesn't. That's the thing. She's proud of it. But, I'm in her corner for the House of Gucci. I'm very excited. Let me tell you something that thrilled me, and that's going back and listening to this week's episode, which I have to just say is like a barn burner. It is one of the like hit for hit, song for song, moment for moment greatest interviews we've had in a long time. I'm just going to say it. We sat down to talk with Anna Ortiz, who was really just like our cup of tea. Hilarious, funny, talked about the craft, talked like behind the scenes dirt, talked about pop culture. She was just like very, very much for us. We were texting about it all week.
Yeah, it was a total pleasure to talk to Anna because, like you said, we talked about like all of like the serious craft stuff, but then we talked about like totally dumb stuff. And then it ended on like a really like not serious note, but like an honest conversation about representation in film. I don't want to sort of spoil what we're talking about, but it was just like a total delight, a total pleasure. I am obsessed with her now until forever, and I can't wait for y'all to listen to it.
You might know her from Love, Victor,
Ugly Betty,
Hung,
Kristin,
Big Mommas, Like Father, Like Son,
and Devious Maids.
Okay, we are so delighted, over the moon, to be here with actress Anna Ortiz. Anna, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
We have a lot for you, so please just buckle up. We just need you to be prepared.
All right.
But we're going to get into something that's exciting for us because you star as Isabel Salazar, the mother of the title character on the Hulu teen drama Love, Victor. So we know you as one of the stars of the trailblazing and extremely gay Ugly Betty. You've worked with the very gay Mark Cherry. You were a musical theater kid, and we know that you're a fan of both Drag Race and Real Housewives. So to us, it made total sense to see you show up in this really sweet sort of gay coming of age story. And it seems that you're sort of like part of a lot of gay or gay adjacent projects. Is that something on a base level that resonates with you?
I would say that I try to go out of my way to stay in anything sort of, that's become my bubble, as it were, my preferred bubble. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, anytime something like that comes along, and I'm blessed actually to be in a position where I'm sort of thought of for things like that now. And I think especially in the Latinx community, it's really important for us to tell all the stories. I think we're used to sort of like the Romeo and Juliet of it all, the sort of West Side Story of it all. And it's not, you know what I mean? I think in the gay community, in the Latinx community, to be gay is still, in a lot of ways, still really taboo and still really sort of difficult to navigate if you're young. And so I'm thrilled to be able to sort of be a voice for that and have like an outlet for those kids to see themselves through.
Have you gotten a lot of kids coming to you? I mean, between Ugly Betty and Love Victor, like, do gay kids come to you and say, like, I love you. I love that you're sort of like my TV mom?
Yeah, definitely. And especially, I mean, back in the days of Ugly Betty, when we were shooting in New York, it was really cool because I could be walking down the street in New York and all of a sudden I'd be like, Hilda! Hilda! You know, like screaming my name. And it was like, it was just, then you know, like, you know, you've made it when, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you get to play a character like that, it's gravy. It's exactly what you want to do.
Well, Damien and I were really taken with the show, and we're texting each other back and forth about like, wow, this show really exceeded both of our expectations of the genre, and thought it was just a really beautiful portrait. You also get a lot to do. Like in the first season, you have this secret, and in the second season, you're sort of coming to terms with sort of like what it means to have a gay son, and also like wrestle with your religious and sort of traditional beliefs. Like there's all these shots of you you have a lot of emotional life. Do you have tricks of the trade that are for those shots where it is just like up close on your face where we have to like see you wrestling with it?
Definitely. I mean, luckily I'm blessed with a cast that's so present and so wanting to make every moment as real as possible and so really committed to these characters and really committed to the storytelling. So that's one, it's not a trick, it's just sort of luck of the draw if you get a wonderful cast. And so I have, James Martinez, who plays my husband, is a revelation, and he's so got good. The eyes, the soul in his eyes when
Totally.
He looks at you. You can't help but to become overwhelmed with emotion. You just can't help it. He is one of the most soulful, talented actors I know. And then also Michael, this heartbreaking face, this beautiful, just gorgeousness that he is, and that yearning that he has, and his youth and his energy again is sort of like, I'm really lucky to have that as my base, in terms of it. But yeah, I mean, tricks of the trade for me, always music. Every time I know I'm going into an emotional scene, I actually have a playlist that I use for, while I'm about to go into a scene. Also, I think if you're lucky enough to have a very cool director, you can say when you need your coverage, so you can, if you're the type of actor that needs to build into it, right? If it's like, I need to work into the scene to really find that emotion, or else you walk in and you're here and you're like, I got to shoot right now. I'm here. Let's shoot me first, please. And luckily your castmates more often than not will really sort of help you with that. Because, in TV or in film, you don't have the luxury of theater where you can just build up throughout the hour or whatever it is that you're acting, and you can really build it up, that emotion. You have to sort of walk on set and be ready to give it. So, like I said, that it's, depending on where your emotion at. Gary Marshall, I did a play with Gary Marshall 100 years ago. And I know, dropping names, sorry. Whoops,
okay, we love Gary Marshall on this podcast. We talk about him like 3 times a month.
I live for him. I literally talk to my kids like Gary Marshall half the time. He used to always say, act like a person. What are you doing? Act like a person. And I say that to my kids all the time. I'm like, act like a person. Who are you?
What was the play? What was the Gary Marshall play?
The play was called Wrong Turn at Lungfish, and he wrote it. And he's been doing it for years. So many actresses have been in this role that I played. Marissa Tomei did it, I think. And so he's put it on throughout the years. And then he was doing it at his theater called The Falcon. Now it's called Gary Marshall Theater. But at that time, it was called The Falcon. And it was with Hector Elizondo, who's one of my like all-time icon, like bucket list, want to work with actors, Puerto Rican from New York, just like me. So I got the part, thank God. And this goes back to the emotional stuff. He said, whenever I'm shooting a scene, I can't do it here, but whenever I'm shooting a movie, I always ask the actress when she's going to go on her cycle, because that's when I'll schedule the emotional scenes.
Stop it. Stop it. That is the fucking sickest, coolest thing. So
and I was
great.
like, did they mind? And he was like, no, everybody thought it was genius.
I've never, ever heard an actor say that. That is incredible.
Oh my God.
I
That's
just-
so-
Gary Marshall.
Yeah. God rest in peace. He was
Rest
a
in
brilliant,
peace. Wow.
beautiful man. Beautiful,
They
wonderful.
don't make them like that anymore. It's too
No, really don't. So yeah, there are definitely tricks. For auditions, if I have to cry, I'm not going to lie. If I can't, I have the music going, but sometimes I have that little, like right on my audition pages, I'll put a little bit of menthol just right on the corner of the page. And, during the scene, and I'll just be like, whoop, little brush of the cry, tears, boom, done.
This is blowing my mind. I once tried to get an actress to tell me if Matt Damon used a tear stick in a scene, and she wouldn't tell me. But
Everybody does. Everybody does. Don't let them tell you they don't. Bullshit.
She was like, well, it's cinematic, so he needed that one tear, and he got there. And she's like, but I don't know if that's the shot that they used. And I was like, they didn't use that shot.
He got there once after like 4 days.
I don't see the shame in it. I mean, the thing is that as actors, you're doing the same scene 40 friggin' times. There's no way to hold. I mean, yes, in certain circumstances you can do it. I have to say, like in the first season of Ugly Betty, I had to have this huge emotional breakdown. And again, though, it really depends. I happened to be working with an actor called Kevin Alejandro, who's just incredible, brilliant, and it just worked. And so I was able to sort of like get that emotion throughout the day, but that doesn't always happen. And you're on borrowed time.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you for being totally transparent with us. Really, it's very few and far between. We love it.
Oh, man.
Hey, man, any way I can help. I mean, this business is hard enough as it is, I feel like there's enough pie for all of us. And as long as you're not bullshitting your way and faking it and I that's not to say that I say don't try for the emotion. Of course, go for it. But sometimes you need that little push to get you over the edge. And sometimes that's that's a little menthol stick that gets that. And then you're there. Then you're right there.
Well, and like you said, it's a different medium. So it's not the same as like working the momentum of an entire first act where you get to your big breakdown. It's like you're doing it out of order and it's like 4 in the morning or 10 at night. And you're you're like, I'm hungry. I want to go home. Like, let me cry.
Yeah. Or after lunch. I hate when they do emotional scenes after lunch. I don't eat lunch at that point because there's no way on a full stomach you can get upset.
I pick all my fights when I'm hungry, honestly. I'm always hangry.
That is me. I will fight anyone when I'm hungry. When I'm satisfied, it's peace and love.
I'm
It is peace and love or sleep.
Okay, Anna. You headlined the Mark Cherry, Eva Longoria Lifetime dark comedy Devious Maids as Marisol Suarez, an English professor who goes undercover as a maid to solve a murder that will prove her son's innocence. The series also stars Judy Reyes, Rosalind Sanchez, Denaya Ramirez, and the tone is very similar to Mark Cherry's other massive hit, Desperate Housewives. So our question is, did you watch that show? And if so, did that help you sort of nail that sort of serious but also campy tone for Devious Maids?
Did I watch Desperate Housewives?
Yeah.
I wasn't like a rabid fan like most, but I watched it for sure. Watched my girl Eva.
Okay.
But listen, I'm Puerto Rican. Like I grew up with every TV in my house blasting 100 volume the novela. So I mean, I don't have to watch Desperate Housewives to get the vibe of a novela. Not to mention that was Ugly Betty too, came off of Betty La Fea.
Right.
It's a vibe, and also again, I go back to it. I have been so blessed. I had this cast from heaven. I mean, Judy Reyes is one of the best actors, period.
Love her.
Rebecca Wasaki, Tom Irwin, Rosaline, Dania. Like, we were locked and loaded. We really were. So, listen, there was drama, there were problems, there was this, there was that. We had all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff going down, as you do, especially when you got, powerhouse Latin women. Listen, shit's going to go down. But we've also, these women I've known and auditioned against for decades, some of them, So we know when to pull it together too, and I think it only brought us closer in the end. But I think one of the most fun things to do as an actor is to get on a show like that, because it's really like there's no rules. And especially, you know, with a Mark Cherry joint, you can really he'll push you to the point where it's like, I don't know if she should really call me a hot tamale because I might fight her. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So that we had those moments.
Very cool. Very cool.
Was there someone there that was putting Mark Cherry in check? Was it Eva? Was it the cast?
Eva is really the only person on the planet I've ever seen who can.
Okay.
No, I mean, you know, he was there a lot for the first season, but we shot in Atlanta. And then he had tons of other things to do. So he headed back and to LA, and we sort of had our man on the ground was a brilliant director, exec producer called David Warren. And he sort of was the liaison. And also Brian Tannen was the head writer, exec producer on that, and who is also a writer on Betty, who is also exec producer, showrunner on La Victor. So Brian Tannen is my man. I will follow him anywhere.
So knowing you're a New York native and you've played one on Ugly Betty and then also just binging Love Victor, I've really been like thinking of your voice work, your New York accent. You were a vocal major at LaGuardia. And then when I was watching Devious Maids, I was like, oh, she's like doing something different with her voice. And I'm curious if finding the vocal register or tone of your character is like something that you are active about in creating the character.
I can't even tell you, Damien, how thankful I am that you just said that. That was really nice. And that you even noticed it. My mother will thank you. Because I remember when I first came out to LA and started working, the first job I got was in New York because it was a play that I did with the theater company that I'm a member of called Labyrinth Theater Company. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, hi, dropping another name. This is how I roll.
Do it.
Dropped it. He directed this play. Stephen Adler Girgis wrote it. It was really incredible. Long story short, I got a part on NYPD Blue from that, being in this play. And it's shot in New York, and the character had to talk like this, and she had to be like whipping her neck and everything. Like, what are you talking? You know. And I got the part. It was my first big TV gig, and my mother was so incredibly worried that that's how I was going to sort of be interpreted. And she's like, I didn't raise you like that. You just can speak properly. And then it continued to happen, right? That was the time, though. So, like, every part I got, we were still in the days of, like, you know, I was either the drug dealer's girlfriend, the saucy maid, the best friend, wisecracking friend, the ghetto princess. You know what I mean? It was never sort of anything really. And my mother's like, oh, that's just how you're interpreted all the time. And, you know, I just don't want people to think. And I was like, but Mom, this is... I'm working, like I'm not bartending anymore. Yeah. It's okay. And so to have the opportunity to do Devious, and honestly, when I went in to read for Mark, he said, the problem I'm having casting you as Marisol, and he was very honest with me, is, although this is a very weird comparison he made, he said, I'm looking for a Grace Kelly and you're a Goldie Hawn. And I was like, well, they're both white blonde ladies, but okay. I was like, I'll take Goldie Hawn any day of the year. Of course I will. But it did click me into sort of what the tone was and what the vibe was for Marisol and what he was looking for more. And so it did give me a clue as to sort of, he just wanted her more poised and less, you know, Puerto Rican.
Well, it's like, that's why it was so interesting, because I was like, what is Anna's doing? She had like her placement. And then it was like the reveal then in binging the first season where you're like, I'm an English professor. I was like, oh, like this was intentional. Like it, like you're doing, like, I was like, she's like doing like a standard like LA thing.
I love you so much. Yeah, no, I decided to make her a little bit more, I guess, in a way more like me, really, to be quite honest. I mean, Hilda's a big part of me, and Isabel too, in a certain way. But Marisol as a whole, she's just more of like my mother.
So our listeners might know you best as Hilda Suarez, Betty's older sister, on the mega hit Ugly Betty. So as you said, it was like groundbreaking. It had a Latinx writer and producer, a majority Latin cast, and the script was an adaptation of the Colombian telenovela. So the show became this like cultural phenomenon, was an award show darling, and it was also at the forefront of representation for gay and trans characters in that time period. So how did your life change when you booked that show? And was there something that you purchased for yourself with that first like ABC check that I'm sure was like, mwah, so fat, so sweet?
Totally. Wait, what was the first part of the question? I got so into like, what did I buy?
Did your life change? Like, I mean, maybe that is it. It's like, did you feel the exact shift of like, now I'm on this huge network show that is now a phenomenon?
I can tell you exactly where I was and what I was wearing when I heard that I booked the part. That's how much it changed my life, because everything about it changed my life. It changed everything for me. And, God, I can't even put into words like sort of what it did. Just, I mean, it was complete turnaround. It was like the day my mother stopped sending me grad school applications finally. You know what I mean? And the first thing I bought myself was a Prius, because I never had a car in my life. And I was going to get a hybrid car because what the hell do I know? I just thought it sounded so cool. And and I named her Hilda because Hilda paid for it.
Love it.
Sweet. And I drove her up until, man, I'm telling you, 7 years ago?
That's great.
6 years ago, yeah.
She got you through.
She got me through big time. Love that car.
Can I ask, there was always talk about an Ugly Betty musical episode, and I was like, it happened, and then I was like Googling, and I was like, wait, maybe it didn't, and then I was like finding scenes, and I was remembering episodes, and then I was like, the full musical episode that you guys teased for like 3 seasons never really came to fruition. So do you know what happened with that, and like, was that something you were like hyped for, or was it something that you were like anxious about?
Oh, we were hyped. Listen, we still all talk about a reboot. I mean, we get together. I see these people way too much, you have to know. Like, we still are really a family. I just hung out with Mark and Delicato yesterday.
That's great.
He lives down the block.
He's like your real, like, you're like, you guys are like really tight. Like, you're like his big sister.
He is, he is 100%. He is my family. He is my best friend. So we're always talking about a reboot. The musical episode was, we were sure we would have one more season. When we got canceled, it was a little bit like the rug getting ripped out from under us. I don't want to sound like a jerk, but we were doing well. We were doing really well. And I think we just kind of didn't understand it. And I think we just sort of took that for granted and really expected to do the musical episode probably in our last season as sort of like a grand hurrah. We thought we would have one more season. So I think, people just got a little sort of like, yeah, we're going to do it. But every single person in that cast is musically inclined. I wouldn't say that everybody can sing or is musical per se, but everybody's 100% game for it. And it was a real gut punch that we didn't actually get to have that manifest.
Okay, so you're a New York kid, as we've mentioned. You grew up in Washington Heights. You went to LaGuardia High School of the Performing Arts, and you've said that your mom took you to a Broadway show every year for your birthday. So we were really like taken with this thing that you said in an interview, and we were wondering what show stands out as one of the best that you've seen, and which one was like a total dud that you're like, oh, what a flop.
Well, okay, what stands out to me, and it's not because it was the best, but it was definitely the one where, when you have those moments in your life where it's like a light bulb of like, oh, this is, like either what I want to be or where I want to go or what. And I this is going to sound so bananas, but I think I was probably about 8 or 9. I think that's when the tradition started, maybe 10. That's when the tradition started of every year going to a Broadway musical for my birthday. And I saw Sandy Duncan in Peter Pan.
You're speaking our language.
This is for us.
She is, the clips that we've seen of her in it, just incredible.
It was literally earth-shattering for me. It was a revelation. It was just an incredible experience. But the kicker for me was I begged my mom to stand outside and wait for her to come out. And my mom, she's like, oh, okay, but I can't promise you, because I had my little autograph book. Nobody had signed it yet. She was like, she just didn't want me to be disappointed if she had to sort of rush through. And when I tell you that little tiny Sandy Duncan stood out there with me for a good 10 minutes in the freezing January cold, just to talk to me and encourage me and be sweet and say thank you for loving this as much as I do. And you can do anything. She just was that person. And so that was sort of the one that really stands out to me as the most positive, because it really put me on the path that I ended up following, to put it, in sort of a romantic way. But the worst, by far, heads and tails above them all, I hate to say, it's so cliche, was Cats. I went to see Cats. I was fully bored, didn't like it. The only part I really liked, and I was probably about, 15. So right in the asshole life, really just everything sucks. I really hate it. You know what I mean? Just whatever. And it was just so boring and so uninspired. And the coolest part was when the Cats came, because we, of course, we didn't have money. We were in the balcony.
Yeah.
We were in the back of the balcony, and the Cats came up and kind of messed with us. I thought that was cool, and seeing their makeup and stuff close up. But other than that, I was totally uninspired by it, and my little 15-year-old self did not enjoy.
The question is, did you see the movie?
I did, mostly. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's a travesty, and I was horrified. And I couldn't even get my kids to sit through it with me.
It was so dumb. We got drunk before to go see it, and I brought poppers. I was ready for it to be I was it's going to be so bad, it's going to be fun. And then I was it's not actually even
it wasn't even fun bad.
It wasn't even fun
bad. It wasn't
bad.
even something that I could hate watch, like Smash. Remember when Smash was on TV?
Okay, this is foreplay for us. We love Smash.
Right? I mean, it was nothing could be more enjoyable for me than that. And They just put it in reruns on VH1 or something. Mm-hmm. I was just living my best life.
Yes.
I'm oh, why did this go away?
We need Smash to come back with Teresa Rebeck.
It was good when it was good, and then it was good when it was bad. It was just
exactly.
It was just perfect.
It was a win-win.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the way through. Loved. 10s across the board.
You're really, really for us right now. Okay, so we were excited to learn about the fact that you have a theatrical, pedigree, and that, as you said, you're a member of the Labyrinth Theater, which was founded by John Ortiz and Philip Seymour Hoffman in the 90s. Do you feel like that is still your artistic home?
Yeah, I do. And I wish, I definitely do. And the wonderful thing about that group and that group of people is it is a home. And whenever, this business can be rough, even if you have a modicum of success like I've been lucky enough to have. And, it's still that you still go through periods where you're really dry and you don't work and you can't book, or the part that you really thought was yours you didn't get, and your best friend got it. And, there's a lot of dark moments no matter where you are on the levels of success, what have you, right? So for me, I'm so blessed to have, and Judy Reyes is a member of the company too. She's a member longer than I. So to have that, and to have that sort of support, and to have that place to go back to remember why you're doing this, to remember what it's really all about, and to be able to just go up on stage and do a reading, or, gather a bunch of people and work on, somebody's working on a play and they want you to read a few pages with some other friends. Little things like that really do, it sounds so corny, but it really does feed your soul as an artist. And it really does, make you feel part of again, because it's really easy to get isolated and wallow in your own misery sometimes out here when you're not. You see all your other friends working, and whatever it is, whatever that bugaboo is in that moment. Yes, I would consider it an artistic home, and I'd love to be able to go back and get back on stage at some point soon, or even do theater here. I've had really great success doing theater out here. The Lab did a play that Stephen Adligerius wrote a long time ago, and we put it on out here, and it was great. It was so much fun, So. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a home that I'm really thankful to have.
But I have a question, meaning when you were working in New York, you were working with, like you said, playwrights like Jose Rivera and Stephen Adly Guirgis and Milcha Sanchez Scott. Did you feel spoiled by that when you went out to LA and then you started reading scripts and you were like, these are not good?
No, I had a little bit of an air of superiority, because it was just I'm coming from real theater.
Right.
We're doing the Lord's work. You're welcome. We suffer for the rest of you. But no, I just came out here sort of really guns loaded. I think when you come out of when you work with people like that, and you feel, I would walk into an audition room and everybody would be stunningly beautiful and absolutely gorgeous and, you know, whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, they all may be gorgeous or prettier than me or have this, but I was like, I know none of them are going to be better actors than me. I know that. And I had that confidence is like worth its weight to walk into an audition room. Like I have to fake it now because it's been so long since I'm like, I just feel like, you know, now it's like, well, why not me? I could do it. Like I really have to, it's hard these days, girl, to get me to pump myself up. But yeah, and but it wasn't so much sort of reading scripts where I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. I don't, you know, because I wasn't really familiar with screenplays and what that sort of meant. I didn't have any reference point to think it sucked or it didn't suck. Although I will say, like my first big thing, I booked 2 things at the same time and I had to choose. I booked a part in the Mariah Carey movie Glitter, and I booked a part on Kristin Chenoweth's new NBC sitcom called Kristin. So I booked both of those and I had to choose. You don't understand what
You're a lamb.
Mariah Carey
You're
means to me. I am a lamb for life.
Yeah, same.
Like, for real. Mariah. Forever. So, and like I got to meet her and she's so bananas and sweet and kind and weird and like everything you need her to be, she is that. So, but then Kristin is Kristin friggin' Chenoweth. It's an NBC show and they were shooting 13. And it was the most nerve-wracking decision. Obviously I chose Kristin. And in the moment, it was a great choice. It always is. Although Glitter is so iconic and so like, talk about good, bad. I mean, hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you know what I mean? Like it was a win-win. I could have,
Absolutely.
it would have been great either way, but I went with the money and the exposure, you know, because I also, you know, on the advice of like, you have your people telling you what they think you should do. And so, you know, again, the Kristin experience was brilliant and amazing and wonderful and educational. And again, an incredible, incredible cast. Glitter, you watch it, it's terrible. I mean, it's just a terrible, I put in quotes, script.
Yeah.
Right? But delicious to watch. And then whenever it's on, I'm watching it.
Yep.
Sorry. I think for me, it's the luxury of like, who am I working with? Like with Love Victor, when my friend Brian called me, who I knew from Ugly Betty, who I knew from Devious Maids, and he said, I'm doing this. It was kind of a no-brainer for me. Like, yes, I did get to read the first script, but I also know Brian. I trust him. I love him. He's a genius. And I know he respects me enough not to like, you know what I mean, mess around. So there you go. I think it's like the people. I'm lucky. I'll go with the people instead of the script maybe sometimes.
Can I ask, in your decision with Kristin Chenoweth's show, you know, that show filmed 13 episodes, but I think like only 4 or 6 aired.
I think it was only 4.
And, you know, I know you were on another show, AUSA. That was
AUSA with Scott Foley.
That was like another sitcom.
My boo.
Like when Ugly Betty happened, were you like, oh my God, this is going to be huge? Or were you like, oh my God, please like let me get a whole season so I can like get into like get real money?
Yes, both. I mean, because we did Ugly Betty and I was like, this is the most special thing I've ever done. You know, when you talk about reading a script was like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. Like I just knew if this goes and this gets made, this is a game changer just for our community, for us as artists, everything. So yeah, I mean, with Betty, you know, at that point you get kicked in the teeth so many times, you definitely don't assume anything, you know what I mean? But I definitely felt that this was really special. America, a hilarious story. Marky won't mind me telling this story because, you know, we've gone through it. But he was 11 when we started shooting, from a working class blue collar family in Philly, right? Like Pennsylvania kid, most darling, talented little bundle of energy. And America, Tony Plana, and I and Marky were walking from lunch back to set in Queens. And America, what, 21 at the time, maybe? 22, maybe 2. She was like, you guys, this is so exciting. Like, I just feel like we're really a family. Like, this is really coming together. Like, Tony, you're like my dad. And Anna, you're like my sister. And Marky, you're just like my gay nephew. And Marky was running ahead and 11 years old. Oh. And he turns around and he goes, Justin's gay? And And America was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? I mean, he like, no, it was like, oh no, what have we done?
That's
we
so sweet.
ruined a child. But he blew it. He brushed it off. I shouldn't say blew it off. He brushed it off and along we went. But we knew, that being said, we knew something was really special. Whether I have faith that it would go? Yes, but I also took that with a grain of salt,
Okay, Anna Ortiz, we have reached the point of the show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take as much time as you need. It just allows us to get in every other credit and have no segues.
Okay.
Okay, between Love, Victor, and Ugly Betty, you've had to film a lot of scenes where you are looking lovingly at your gay son without saying any words. Do you have a go-to, my son is gay and I just love him as he is, or my son is gay and I'm worried I can't protect him from the harshness of this cruel world, look in your back pocket?
Yes.
Okay, Anna, you play Gina Rodriguez's sister and Priscilla Lopez's daughter in the indie Sleeping with the Fishes, where you drunkenly fall down at the club doing the Running Man and get a bloody nose. Did you go clubbing in the 90s in New York City at all? And if so, what was your wildest night out?
I don't want to tell you anything, but I was in the club in the 80s, hun.
Okay.
All right.
When it was real, in the golden age of hip hop, in the golden age of house music, in the golden age of clubbing. The 80s. Yes, I am an old.
Was Limelight woman. Then? Was like Esquilita
Limelight,
then?
The Tunnel, Escalita, Danceteria, Nels, Save the Robots, Mars, Soul
fun.
Kitchen.
You had fun.
Yes, we had lots of fun. My wildest night, I mean, God, there were so many. The night where I told my mother I was sleeping at my friend's house and she told her mother she was sleeping at my house. So we had to just stay out all night, and we were at the Tunnel, and then we went to Save the Robots, which was an after hours club downtown, and then we had nowhere to go. And so we went all the way up to Columbia University and just slept on Columbia campus because we were like, well, who's going to mess with us? It's Columbia. It's a bunch of rich kids. They're not going to get.
That's smart.
Perfect.
I was a bad kid. I don't want my daughter to be like this.
She's a frequent listener, so.
Okay, Anna, you've said that Liz Swados was a family friend and that you saw her famous musical Runaways multiple times. This is incredible. Have you ever met Trini Alvarado or Diane Lane and talked to them about starring in that groundbreaking show about teenagers?
No, and I really, really wish that one day I will. I would absolutely love. Trini sang my favorite song, and Diane Lane is Diane Lane. So I could sing all the songs for you by her right now. And I look forward to the day when I actually get to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Love, Victor, your character lists the roles she played in High School Musicals, which include Frenchie in Grease, Anita in West Side Story, and Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. These musicals are literally all in my top 10. Those three musicals are in my top 10 musicals. What is a dream musical theater role, and would you come to Broadway to do it?
Well, that's so good. Well, one of my dream musicals, probably my top 5 is Hair. And I've done Hair. I toured Europe with Hair a year after I got out of college. One of those cattle calls from backstage. Remember the paper backstage? And you'd get the cattle calls. I was number 200 and whatever it was. And I fucking booked that shit. I went to Europe singing my favorite musical. So, and I get to play Chrissy, which is my dream. She sings Frank Mills, probably the best song in my opinion. And okay, so though a musical, well, listen, I would love to do It's so whatever, but I never got to do In the Heights, and I would love to sing. Those roles to me are really fun to sing, and it's really in my wheelhouse. I'm from Washington Heights, and I would come back to Broadway for any number of things. It's not like they got to pull teeth, honestly. I'll be there. What am I stage managing? Blue Man Group? Okay.
Stompin's back.
The thing is that I love musicals, but I'm an alto, so there's not a lot of leading alto-ish roles. But any
You'll
I'd
let us
actually love, if I could, I would love to do Runaways, even though I'm an old ass. I would still love to do that.
Listen, Catalina Bar and Grill's 54 Below. Do a night where Anna Ortiz does the Runaways, and we'll help you produce it. It's a good idea.
Oh my God. It's not actually a terrible idea.
It's actually kind of a good idea. You come and do like a stint at 54 Below, and then you can do it at Catalina Bar and Grill, and it'll be great.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea.
We'll talk.
Okay, Anna, you've worked opposite a number of great women of the American musical theater, Priscilla Lopez, Vanessa Williams, and Kristin Chenoweth. If your acting career never existed and you had to be a personal assistant to one of those three stars, who would you choose and why?
Out of Vanessa,
Kristin.
Personal assistant? Mm-hmm. Vanessa Williams all day long. I mean, there's literally no question. First of all, she's so cool. A. B, her house in New York is sickening. So I'd be working in like the most beautiful house ever. She, you know what I mean? Like wherever she is gorgeous. Like her dressing room was always fabulous. So like wherever you're surrounded all the time by like comfort, but like elegant, gorgeous comfort, like gorge. She's super kind. She's really funny. Her family is amazing. I love all of them. So like, these are the people you'd be hanging out with if you're her assistant. I love her kids. She loves animals. So there's always dogs and cats. And I remember one time I told her, I said, Vanessa, I love your jeans. And she was like, oh, thanks. And the next day I came to the trailer. Oh, because she goes, try them on. And I was like, no. She said, try them on. She would try it on her jeans. The next day I go to my trailer. There's 3 pairs of jeans. She just was like, here for you, because you loved them. She's just that person, literally clothes off her back for you. That. So yeah, Vanessa for sure. Okay. Plus she loves food. She loves a good cocktail. I mean, come on.
Okay, you face off against Anthony Anderson to play Santa in a gig at the job on an episode of Blackish, but you unfortunately lose the role because of the funny way you say ho ho ho, which is you say ho ho ho. Was this an actor's choice, or did they give you that line reading?
They gave me that line reading.
It made me laugh out loud. I was really into it.
I'm so glad to say that you said that. They did for sure. Because I asked, I was like, is it ho, ho, ho? Which I thought was really funny. And they were like, no, it's ho, ho, ho. But honestly, I think either way would have been funny.
Totally.
Okay, Dr. Quinn helps you give birth in jail in the 1999 Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, how convincing was Jane Seymour as an obstetrician?
How convincing? Well, I don't know. I mean, she was...
She wasn't that convincing, I don't think.
I don't think she was that convincing. But in all fairness, she was about the kindest, sweetest, and like low-key hilarious ladies ever. And I will tell you this, and I'm sure she wouldn't, this is no shade. We already went through this earlier. But I did see her using a little menthol stick because she had to cry.
So we have a lot of Jane Seymour fans here. This is going to make people happy to know.
Listen, okay, I count me among them. I just remember, listen, no shame to her not being a convincing obstetrician, because here I am in a Mexican prison giving birth, and I'm supposed to be Mexican, and I said, "Coño," which A is Puerto Rican. B, they didn't say in 18 whatever the fuck year it was supposed to be. No. Nobody said coño, and I fully said coño. They didn't bleep it out because white folks didn't know what the hell I was saying.
They had no clue what was happening on that set. They were like, yes, love it. I love what you did there.
I love the Spanish. Keep that up. Meanwhile, it was like New Yorican 100. And then out comes this poor baby covered in cream cheese and grape jelly. It was.
Is that what they do? Is that what they use?
Cream cheese and grape jelly.
I can't.
Or raspberry jelly. One of the jellies. Disgusting. That poor fucking baby. Yes.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
So, I gave as good a Mexican birth as she gave an ancient obstetrician.
Okay. You worked with Lindsay Lohan more than once on Ugly Betty and in the film Labor Pains. So, Lindsay was in the throes of addiction and getting tons of bad press at the time, but both of these were, attempted comebacks for her to prove that she could still act and was employable. Was she a total nightmare, or did you guys become pals?
We did not become pals.
Okay. Coño, I got it.
Coño. We did not become pals. She was, listen, you said it. She was still she might be 100% now. I have no idea, how she's doing. And I wish her nothing but the best. But it was definitely a lot. She wouldn't do her coverage. She had her sober coach with her, which, come on. And she was supposed to do like 6 episodes. I think she only ended up doing 4. What I regret the most for her in our situation is that she could have had so much more fun than she did. That show was really fun. That character was fun. Like, we had the big food fight scene. And, you feel sorry for someone in the throes of addiction like that, because you really miss out on some really fun, cool opportunities. And that was sort of, an effort to get her back on track. I think all of us were sort of rooting for her. But I think, the odds were stacked against her. Honestly, the people around her were far worse than she.
Yeah.
So, who's to say how it could have been if she had had somebody else looking out for her?
Yeah. Also, her parents are terrible.
That's who I mean.
I got it. Okay, fair. Okay.
Her mother fully got thrown out of like an after party that we had. Fully thrown out by the security guards.
Wow.
I feel like that takes work at a certain point. It's impressive.
You're a grown-ass woman. What are you doing? She's so crazy.
Okay. Ana, you were in the 2010 music video for Enrique Iglesias and Juan Luis Guerra's Cuando Me Enamoró.
Y'all know everything.
Okay, bear with me because this is one of my things. The premise is Enrique and Juan Luis are doing a concert at a middle school and you're the principal introducing them on the stage. I am fairly certain they were not in the same room as you and the kids. Is this right or am I completely incorrect?
Completely incorrect.
You were all in the room together?
We were all there together. I met Juan Luis Guerra and I met Enrique Iglesias. And let me tell you something. First of all, Enrique is super tall.
Oh.
Juan Luis, everybody knows Juan Luis is tall. He's like 6'4".
Yeah.
Enrique, I always kind of pictured him like a Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Like super gorgeous and fabulous, but like little. Mm-hmm. No. So tall.
Ooh.
And literally the coolest, nicest, down to earth. Like, for somebody that beautiful, you think he's going to be like, he didn't have an entourage. He didn't have people around him. He didn't have assistants. He was just sitting there like the rest of us, doing his work, having a kiki with everybody, laughing it up. Nicest guy. That was a really fun experience. Yeah.
Okay.
And ready to go. Like, he's like, let's go. I loved it. Oh, yes.
Okay, you are a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race and The Real Housewives. What is your hottest take for each show? We're both invested.
Okay. Well, I think everybody should know that I liked Sutton when everybody hated Sutton. Everybody was like, I hate Sutton. I was like, I like Sutton. Marky almost disowned me. Mark and Delicata was like, I don't even think we can be friends. I don't even know who you are. I loved her from jump. I just want everybody to know that. It is on record. Even though her body is like crazy little, she's crazy, but that's the kind of crazy I like.
You need that. You need them for the show. You need a person like that.
RuPaul. What's my hottest take? My hottest take is that I should be a judge on it.
And no
what's taking so long?
They should do like a telenovela sketch and like have you and America be the 2 guest judges that week. Why don't I work on these things?
What the heck? I mean, really, you are giving me brilliant ideas. I will in all of this. It's too broad to say like for each show because, well, first of all, not a hot take because everybody knows that New York needed to have more cast members. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe they didn't have the reunion, but like, I mean, like what is going on with that? Is Bethany coming back? Is New York even coming back? Like what's happening?
I think it's on hold. I don't know what's happening. I haven't heard any rumors, but yeah, I don't know. But Bethany is it's hard for me though.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
She's really mean and it's like not fun anymore. It used to be fun when she was the poor one because she was like scrappy, but now it's like you're the richest and you're just mean to all of them.
That's like Candace though. Candace for me is too mean. Like it gets so mean with her that
I appreciate her for the show, but she's a terrible person.
She's a terrible person. I appreciate her for the show, but it does get to a point. It's like watching Sonia drink. It's like at a certain point, now I'm just like worried about her. And with Candace, I'm like, you're so foul. Like, it's not even, but when I will say Candace when she's funny.
She's so funny. She's so sharp. She's so witty. Who do you think is the classiest housewife of all time? Any franchise, any city, doesn't have to be a current housewife. I have a thought about this. Anne knows it because I talked about it 100 times.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the classiest?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're like good television necessarily, but like who's the classiest?
I mean, is it my grande dame? But she's such bullshit.
No.
Her class is so three-wick. Her class is so three-wick.
I think the classiest housewife, in my opinion, is Eileen Davidson because she was like,
Ooh.
she like kept it cute. She like was always pretty like level and never like, she didn't instigate, which is probably why she's not on the show anymore. But she always like was able to like keep her composure in arguments, which like I always respect because, you know, if someone.
I can see that. And I like that. That's good. You know, though, I'm going to say it's Garcelle for me. I'm going to say right now, the way I'm moving through space, the way I'm living right now.
Her.
It's Garcelle for me. Garcelle, you know, she is my. I just love her.
Do you know her in real life?
Yes.
I was going to say, I feel like I saw that she like followed you on Instagram and was into.
Our kids went to the same public school right up the block.
Okay.
So I would see her. Can you imagine seeing this gorgeous goddess walking through your campus?
If they ever said to you, would you come and be on Housewives, would you do it? No, because like you're a fan, but you're also an actor. Would you ever do it though?
I mean, I would go on as like, you know, just like as a friend of, you know, like I would go on as like Garcelle's friend, 100. I would not be a castmate. No. I'm not strong enough. I'm not. I have much respect for those ladies. I'm not strong enough.
Yeah.
Plus my husband would divorce me and, you know, would be.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But I love watching it.
I live for it.
Thanks for humoring that part of this.
I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah.
We could literally have another 3 hours and keep going.
Okay, we're pivoting to something very important. You start opposite Martin Lawrence and his Big Mama drag in Big Mama's House 3, where he has to go undercover at an all-girls performing arts high school. Very meta for you. A, did you draw from your experience at LaGuardia to play the headmistress? And B, on a scale of 1 to 10, how nightmarish was the experience of being surrounded by Martin Lawrence in prosthetics?
I did not really draw on my experience in an art school because, you know, no, I was just sort of, I would come in and, you know, I think my main focus was like not to fuck up my Spanish accent because I didn't want it to sound really awful. And I had to have a Spanish accent for some reason. I don't know why it was important for them, but it was. It had nothing to do with the character. It had nothing to do with anything. I was like, you sure she needs a well, yes, we insist. Okay.
We insist.
I was like, okay, man, whatever floats your boat. It's your fucking movie. Martin Lawrence in his prosthetics. Listen, it wasn't him because he would do his coverage and then he would leave. So I didn't really get a chance to work with him in his prosthetics because I just, you know, we did like his 2 takes of, you know, him doing him. And then it would be his stand-in in the prosthetics for the rest of the day. So I felt sorry for that cat because he had to be. And here's the problem with the way that system works, though, is Martin Lawrence, love him or hate him or whatever it is, you know, just acting with him is difficult because he's so smart and funny and quick and he ad-libs everything. And so he does his scene, his coverage, and he's all over the place and he's hilarious and he's throwing stuff at you and you're blah, 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 blah. When it turns on your coverage, he leaves and it's a stand-in like, are we going to the room over there?
Oh my God.
We need to go to the cafeteria. I like this one. So then he, you know, and then you watch the movie and you're like, I'm in a different movie than he is because I never was in the same movie as him.
Yeah, wow.
So you're telling me this poor stand-in is like in the prosthetics only so they can do like an over-the-shoulder shot of you responding? Yeah. Oh my God, horrendous.
Well, and it was Atlanta and it was summer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, listen. So, you know, worse for them than us, except that, you know, our acting probably seems very disjointed. Luckily, I had like, you know, 4 scenes.
You were great. Okay, Anna Ortiz, last question. Very important.
I am spilling tea, huh? Mm-hmm. Oh, Lord. I'm here for it.
All right. You had sex with Mark Paul Gosselaar on board Air Force One in an episode of Commander-in-Chief.
Y'all.
You had multiple sex with Mark Paul Gosselaar. You also pretended to be a cop who actually turns out to be a real cop who likes to role play with your trick, played by Thomas Jane, in 5 episodes of the HBO series Hung. Which blonde hunk was more fun to pretend fuck, and have you ever played a lesbian?
Mark Paul Gosselaar was 1,000 times more fun. Not even close. They weren't even in the same universe comparatively. And have I ever played a lesbian?
We really looked and looked and looked. It's what we do on the show, but we couldn't find any record of it.
How can I not have played a lesbian?
It seems shocking.
It seems shocking.
I think you got to make it happen.
You're like always in gay things, but you're always very straight.
I'm very straight. I have got to rectify this situation. Y'all have just blown my mind. I don't think I've ever played a lesbian. Now, wait, I have a question. If I played a lesbian, do you think I would get a lot of shit because I'm not actually a lesbian and it should have gone to a lesbian actress?
I think it's a good question. I think it's like we're in a specific moment where I feel like the pendulum is swinging in a way that is necessary, and that like we should be letting gay people play gay roles, and we should be letting gay people tell gay stories and all of those things. That being said, I don't think it should be a hard and fast rule. And I do think that like sexuality is different than race when we're talking about like fucking Emma Stone playing an Asian person or Scarlett Johansson. You know, it's like not the same. It's not the same conversation. But I don't think so from a person, and that's just from my perspective. I would not be I'm not upset by it. I do think it's been like such a long time of watching like so many straight people get so much praise for playing gay, and it's just irritating.
You're brave. You're so brave.
So brave.
So brave.
Well, and Anne, what was the thing that we were talking about with Sheesh Ronan, and was it Kate Winslet?
Oh my God. Here's what's irritating to me. When straight women play lesbians, they go on a press tour and they talk about like how soft their faces were, and like how they really had to like work they got drunk before the scene because God knows like they couldn't deal with kissing a woman in a scene where you're like, you got like raped on screen in this movie, and you like shot somebody in the face in this movie, but like God forbid you kiss a woman on screen.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I ask because you as an ally and as an advocate, you want to be on the right side of things. You want to be the right side of history. As an artist, as an actor, I want to push myself and I want to play things that aren't who I am and aren't close to me. And we went through this with Michael for Love Victor. He was really concerned that he would get a lot of hate for being straight playing, and he got some and he handled it beautifully and he understood it. He exactly to your point, like he understood what people were saying. What I think though is that as an actor, if someone asks me to audition for the part and I like the part and I'm going to work as hard as I can to get it. And if I get it, I'm more than likely going to do it because as an actor, that's what I do. I lay most of the responsibility at this point at the feet of the casting and the producers and the directors. They're the ones in charge of like, I want to be true to this and this community and therefore I'm going to hire so-and-so actor, right? I'm going to, but as an actor, like I want to challenge myself. I want to feel that soft skin. I'm kidding. No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also hard because like you're an actor for hire. So it's also like if a great part falls into your plate, I totally understand from that perspective of wanting to do it.
You want to do it.
Yeah.
But again, like as an ally, I also want to be on the right side of history. I want to do the right thing for all people, everyone concerned. So it's a real, I'm glad that you talk about it and I'm glad that we're having a conversation. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know that anybody does, or if there is one answer. I think the fact that we can talk about it and have that conversation is what is really cool.
I totally
agree with you. And also I feel like part of it is not just like you showing up and playing a lesbian and then doing press for it, which is tacky. It's like also showing up in all of the other ways that you do, which is like doing advocacy work, like doing benefits, showing up for queer people. And, that is also...
That's a really good point. That's
a really just the one piece. And I feel like when it feels exploitative or like for the queer, that's when it feels like this is problematic.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I actually think that's something that actors who are facing that's something that they could do, is that make sure that if you are straight and are playing, whatever it is, then to maybe, sort of advocate for that community or do something, in allyship with that community is something that would help you. I think that's something that's really interesting. I like that.
Our opinion doesn't matter, but we're telling you should play a lesbian.
I love it, and I want to.
We're
Will you write
giving
it
you
for me?
carte blanche.
Thank you. Have permission. You heard it here, everyone. I will get it.
Anna Ortiz, this has been a total pleasure. Thank you so much for being on our show.
This was so flippin' fun, and you guys are like very sneaky because I just felt like I could just tell y'all everything. The stories I could tell y'all. Yeah, I don't want to know.
We'll take you out of 54
do.
Below when you do the Runaways show. We'll find them out there off the record.
Yes, please.
Holy cow. That interview just like checked every box for me. Much like Anne, the way you checked every box for me when we first became friends, Anna Ortiz really checked like all of my boxes as far as like what I want from a guest, which is to say like I love talking about the craft in earnest. I love talking about theater and like holding theater to a really important standard as an artist. I also love a little bit of pop culture gossip. I love reverence for our, elders like Gary Marshall. Like I just loved it all.
Oh my God, a Gary Marshall impression.
I have to say one of my favorite things I think maybe was talking about Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, and when she called Jane Seymour an ancient obstetrician. Oh, it really took me. And also that, you know what I'm going to say, the reveal about Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Tell me.
Oh, the menthol stick, babe.
No. I was going to say the cream cheese, raspberry
the cream cheese and jelly.
jam.
It's in my notes. Look, this interview was a treasure trove. Babies covered in cream cheese and jelly. Jane Seymour using a menthol stick. Brenna, I know that you need to know that important fact. It's beautiful. Like, I couldn't get over the fact that she said that sometimes you can just put like menthol on the edge of your sides so that then you don't even have to like do anything. It's just like you bring the paper to your face and you huff it and it makes you get teary. Come on, that is
She was
a
like,
pro
you
tip.
turn the page and you maybe get a little bit on your finger and then you hold it close. And I was like, I hope we have actors that are listening to this that are because I think, I'm going to tell you, making it about me, when I was a freshman in theater school and I asked my theater teacher, like, what do you do if you're in a scene and you can't cry? Like, what do you do if you're on stage and like it doesn't happen? And she was like, you do it. Because it's your job. And I was like, okay, very helpful, very helpful. And I feel like there's this like mystique around things like that, around process. And like, but also it's a fucking job. And if you're on camera and you need to cry and you can't, you know what happens? You don't like just cry because it's your job. You have to do it. And I really appreciated her transparency about that. And I hope that some actors listen to it and are like, you know what? That's a great trick. One of the things I wish that I had asked about in the moment was, when we were talking about Glitter and her choice between Glitter and Kristin, I wish that I had asked if she was Padma Lakshmi's role. Like if that was the role that she was offered. Because I was, because like looking, like in the moment, I think I don't know why I didn't ask a follow-up to say like, who were you going to be? I didn't. And then now I'm like, oh, I wish that's my guess, but I could be wrong.
We're going to find out. We're going to get the details and report back here. God, this one really was one for the book. So thank you to Anna Ortiz for giving us pretty much everything we could ever want in an interview. We hope you love the show. We hope you love the episode, and we hope that you go and watch Devious Maids. Really, we have been enjoying it so much. It has been a real palate cleanser for me this fall. So you know what? We're on episode 102. Look at us. We're gearing up for the holiday season, and with that in mind, we want to promote next week's show. We're doing something a little different. Usually this is the time of the show where we connect this week's guest to next week's guest. But because we have a special episode planned, Damien, let's hear about what we're going to be doing next week.
Well, Thanksgiving is a time for togetherness and a time for me at least, I think about it as a time for like warm blanket TV, catching up with friends and family, if I'm fortunate to see them in person or remotely. And so we are going to movie club a little bit, and we're going to revisit. For me, it's a total warm blanket movie, and that is Clueless, the great 1995 comedy classic directed by Amy Heckerling, starring Alicia Silverstone, Stacey Dash, and the late great Brittany Murphy. And we're very excited to dive into this woman-directed film that we both love. And we also have some other special clips and snippets for you coming. But we want you to watch Clueless ahead of time so that you can unpack it with us here next week.
Here's the thing. I've been thinking a lot about Amy Heckerling, and we'll be talking about this next week. Do your research. I just want to tell you that she has dated two high-profile people that are a surprise. Maybe high profile is generous once you see the names, but like really I was shocked by both of them, and we will be discussing both of those people on next week's episode. So get into it. There's just so many delights to be discovered in Clueless. I think it's an American classic. I think you can sort of mark like before and after Clueless for our generation. So I'm excited to rewatch it. It's so fun. It's so smart. It's so weird. And so it's pleasing that having all of those things be true, like it's like revered for being like funny and also smart and also a classic. I just feel like not many comedies get that much credit, and this one really deserves it.
So that's us. We hope you'll be here with us next week to do that, to talk about Clueless. And you know what else you can do? If you like what we're doing, if you like the guests we're interviewing, if you like what we're talking about at the top or the bottom of the show, please leave us a written review. Make sure you're locked in and following the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, and give us a little written review on the Apple podcast app. You know, a couple words, an emoji, that'll do. We really appreciate it. It helps us continue to do this whole thing.
Absolutely. If you want to get more of what we're talking about here, and that's talking about how old Aaron Tveit, however you say his last name is, you can find that information on our social media. Please follow us everywhere that you can at Damian Bellino, that's Damian with an A, and at Rodeman, that's Rodemanne.
You might know her from is produced by us. That's Damian Bellino and Ann Rodeman. We also couldn't do this without our special consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. Thank you to Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears, and all that crystal clear editing you are hearing and consuming in your lobes right now is also by the wonderful, the nuanced and smart and gentle and kind Daniel Sears.
Special thanks to Gang. All the music that you hear on each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is courtesy of Gang. We're so happy that they let us use their music. You can find Gang wherever you listen to the music that you do. And if you want to find that clip of Anna, who was actually in the room with Enrique Iglesias, I'm going to link that video in the show notes. That's where we keep all of the links, all the photos, all the goodies, all the articles. Everything that we have is findable in those show notes. Go check them out. Here's the thing. I really thought that she wasn't in the room with Enrique Iglesias. I was not prepared for the fact that she was never in the same room with Martin Lawrence. Big
Whoa.
Mommas 3.
Shocking.
How horrible. Martin Lawrence is a David Boreanaz type. Now we know.
With a lot more talent, that's for sure.
I will bring him down.